gentleman that, can everybody hear me? Can y'all hear me? Back in the corner?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to also, I guess, welcome everyone to the event today, to the Happening 2017. I don't know, am I on? Y'all get me? Yeah, I think I'm on. Let me know if I need to do anything different. Welcome you to the Happening 2017 event. And it's really a pleasure and an honor for me to be here amongst this panel of professionals, as well as you folk. I really enjoy the opportunity to meet new people and make connections. And I think that today's topic is real special because I think as we look at where we are as a community in hip hop here in Portland, some pretty great things, and I think an opportunity to continue some conversations that have actually we've been having for a while, and so looking for the opportunity to share with everyone here and build a network, and then maybe just share some things that maybe folk aren't really quite aware of in terms of background, and then really talk about how we move forward. So that's what I hope we get an opportunity to do today. So like Andre said, we're going to have an opportunity to share from up front, and then we're going to break out into some breakout sessions and really get an opportunity to connect with people more one-on-one. So I'd like to introduce our panel of esteemed guests who are here today. I know everybody here personally, so my intros are going to be pretty more personal than like professional. But one of the things that we've seen, I guess that could be considered a little bit unfortunate, is that in terms of media coverage, there hasn't been as much media coverage in Portland as we'd like for the hip hop community. But one constant that we've seen, and someone who's been putting out some pretty great work in a couple of different publications, I think, who's done a great job of not just writing, but building with the community on a personal level, is this young woman who's sitting next to me. She writes for Willamette Week.
No.
For Portland Mercury. And then she's done some other pieces for some other publications. Ladies and gentlemen, can you put your hands together for Miss Jenny Moore? This next gentleman I had an opportunity to meet through a local artist. He's been working in the Portland scene, representing the Portland scene for a while, but is also an artist in his own right historically. And if you get an opportunity to do some research on him, I think you'd be impressed with what he's done. I'm grateful because every so often I get an opportunity to play a drop that he recorded for me that he probably doesn't remember every so often on my radio show. If you are an artist looking for an opportunity to record, you might want to check out Portland Underground Recording. If you put your hands together and help me welcome Mr. Prince Strickland. This next young lady, if you've again been following the Portland scene, you've probably seen her face around for a minute because she's really been putting in work for a while. She definitely keeps me in place when I don't get her name right. She's been a real sweet person to me as she's grown in her career. I've had an opportunity to host her on my radio show as well as a part of the Mic Check family by way of Chicago, Portland's own Miss Karma Rivera. And our last panelist is a gentleman who has been working tirelessly over the years to create platforms for artists, artists that we know and artists that we are getting to know, local artists as well as touring artists. And he's just kind of an all-around cool guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anthony Sanchez of Runaway Productions. So I think today, you know, the title.
What about you?
Oh, yeah. My name's Klyph. I host a radio show on X-Ray FM called Welcome to the Neighborhood. I've had an opportunity to do that, starting off at KZME, now at X-Ray FM, and then I also am a curator for a monthly hip hop showcase called Mic Check. It happens at the White Eagle every last Thursday, yeah, that's me. I'm just, you know. So the title of the presentation today is Portland's Love-Hate Relationship with Hip Hop. And it's been interesting leading up to this, to today, having some conversations with folk based on that title and sort of where we're at. But I thought, you know, I'd go back just a little bit, and I think one of the things that happened that really sort of brought this to the forefront was about 3 years ago, March 2014. There was a lot of coverage, not just locally, but even nationally, on an event that happened at the Blue Monk, where 3 artists, Mikey Vegas, Hanif, the artist formerly known as Luck One, and Immaculate were set to perform, and there was sort of conflicting information of what really started it, but there was a pretty heavy police presence at that event, at that show. Not because of anything that happened, but I think it was presented as a preventative thing to prevent something from happening. And I had an opportunity to be at that show, and it was pretty. It was a little uncomfortable. It was more than a little uncomfortable. Out of that came an independent police review, because there was, we really felt like there was unfair attention being put on hip hop shows. Later on that year, in March of 2014, there was another incident that happened at Kelly's Olympian, where a show was shut down, or not shut down. The Resistance were set to perform, and the capacity of the event, of the venue, was reduced. It was literally reduced by half, so people weren't able to get in. I would encourage you, if you're really interested, the Independent Police Review is online right now, that you can read. And one of the main points that came out of that was to overcome some of these issues, that we need to have more conversations, that there just wasn't enough communication between city officials and artists and promoters here in the city. So now here we are, we have an opportunity to see things that have come out of that, like October 15th of 2015 being named it was the official inaugural Portland Hip Hop Day event, which is huge, and I think that deserves a round of applause. And understand that came from conversations that were had that I think were really prompted or spurred on by some of these events. We have a lot of other events. I mentioned Mic Check. We also have, and this is an incomplete list. We have events like the Thesis. We have Breakout Tuesdays, Wicked Wednesday, the Portland Black Music Festival. We have YGB events. We Take Holocene, the Mogul Music Festival, and more. And I think now the question is, what do we do with that? Now that we've gotten to this place, and that's one of the things that I want to get feedback from our panelists today. So I want to present a question to each of you, give you each an opportunity to sort of talk about your sense of where we are today. So I'm going to start with you, Jenny, and we'll sort of move down. In your estimation, what would you say the current state of hip hop in Portland is today?
Today, I mean, I think it's obviously like growing. I've only been involved for a couple years. So I haven't had to see any of police presence at shows. Like, I came right after the Blue Monk situation, so I don't have it to compare it to that. But from my view, it's like pretty positive. The shows are all feel like The Function, where it's like a small scene, you know, so you recognize a lot of the faces, and it feels like really tight knit. But I think the biggest problem is getting excitement and getting new people involved in the scene, and getting people to want to come to shows, even if it is raining, and even if it is, you know, crazy stuff happening downtown. But yeah, just getting that consistency of getting support for the scene, I think, is what I've been focused on. But yeah, obviously there's like the issue of cliques, and there's like little, you know, silly beefs and whatever. But for the most part, I feel like it has a real like familial vibe.
Got you. Prince, as someone who's again in Portland, but you've had an opportunity to see hip hop even in other places. What's your view of the Portland hip hop scene?
I am pretty strapped to my chair in the studio, so I only get to hear when people talk, when they come in and talk about the scene, and I'd say the overwhelming majority of people talk about it being, like you said, cliquish, and it's tough to get people out to shows. But on the other side of that, I've also seen people come out and show mad support. When I would go to one of Anthony's shows that he promotes, I mean, those have been some of the most live shows I've ever seen. You know, and I used to go to shows in New York, and some of those rival. So I don't know what the secret formula is to get people out, but it might be one headliner that brings everybody out, or, I mean, sometimes it just seems like the energy, like at some of those Surge shows, or like Surge getting on, you know, when different, like Wu-Tang or somebody would come and he gets on those shows, that's huge for him, you know, so that's blown his star up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karma, from an artist's perspective, what would you say, you know, the current state of the Portland hip hop scene is?
I think, oh, well, y'all can probably still hear me. I think it's the healthiest it's ever been. I mean, it's finally becoming more like a community rather than this stagnant whatever it was. I mean, you have people finally playing their part in their roles. You don't just have the rappers, the singers, you have photographers, you have videographers, you have producers, you have all the creatives finally coming together and playing their part in this community. So this is the healthiest I've seen it. And I think it has the opportunity to even flourish and thrive even more. I mean, it's interesting to see what's going to happen in a year or so, because you have finally people, you know, like, okay, I can shoot photos. I'm gonna go out to these shows, shoot these photos, or I could do video, and then also seeing other artists support other artists. It's a beautiful thing as well. Where before it wasn't really like that. Now it's like you got more people coming together and starting to figure out, oh, this is simple arithmetic. Like, you do this, you do that, boom, you got a poppin' party, a poppin' show, you know?
Anthony, you've had an opportunity to being a promoter, put on shows, and some of the issues that we talked about earlier, you may have come up against in terms of trying to put on one of these shows. So what is your sense of the current state of the scene?
Well, I guess it's just like the name of this event, the love and hate relationship with Portland hip hop, and that's the way I feel about it right now. It's like there's parts of it that I hate, and there's parts of it that I love, you know. But I think it takes that to get to the next step. There's so many like pioneers in this town, legends that have laid down the foundation for us to be having this conversation right now. And I think that's like really important. And I want to give like shout outs to all those cats that like help build this. Those guys have all been my mentors and friends of mine, and getting to be a small part of this has been huge for me. But like I said, I mean, it's tough, it's a struggle right now, but it's also beautiful to see that there's a lot happening. As she said, there's so many different elements being involved right now. We are opening it up, and there's bridges being built. Crossing those bridges is gonna be tough, but you know, we just got to keep moving, and I feel more positive about what's happening right now, even though it's almost tougher than it's been in a long time. I feel good about what's happening right now. Like let's you know, I want to keep moving and building and going forward. That's what's up.
That's what's up. Those pieces all sound good, but I think let's get a little bit more specific, because I think one of the things that we've seen when I've had an opportunity to talk to artists don't always feel like they have those they have those freedoms, or that they don't see things as being as good as we may seem. What are some of the challenges that that we face right now, and what are some ways that we can start talking about in terms of overcoming those challenges? And that's open to anyone.
I think.
So as you mentioned, there are parts of it that you hate, like.
Well, a lot of the youth, a lot of the younger cats coming up. Actually, the other side of it, the veterans, like reaching out to the youth, you know, making sure that they believe in what they can do and that they can move forward, you know, like really, without some of the older cats helping me out, I would have never felt compelled to move forward, you know, like that's what we have to do, you know? Like, it's a struggle and it's hard, like I said, but there's constant roadblocks in front of us. But, you know, like, let's jump over them, you know? Like, so there's all kinds of things at the city that venue managers, owners, but all of us have to come together and figure out how do we get over those things, you know? How do we move forward? And I think that is like working together as, you know, one big team, you know? So
I heard a couple of times the idea of the scene being a little cliquish was brought up. Is that something that we can address here today? Is there a way that we can look at, you know, ways to overcome that?
I've like I said, I'm in the studio a lot. So when guys come in and that's their thing, you know, I say, you just got to get up there and burn it down. You know what I mean? You got to get up there and just kick ass. And then if they're gonna hate, they're hating for a reason. You know what I mean? But you can't just, you know, because I'll get specific with people. I'll say, well, how many shows you play? Play this one show, and these guys were hating on me. I was like, well, you got to play, you know, 100 shows before you know, have a consensus. Right. You know, so my encouragement is just it's just like anything, follow your dream and stick with it and just kick ass. You know what I mean? Because then who cares if they're hating, you know? For real.
Right, so. Right. I think that sort of ties in a little bit to maybe what you were saying, Anthony, that you do have to have the education of younger artists of how to do that. So Karma, as someone who's newer to the scene, I shouldn't even say newer to the scene because you've been here for a minute, but coming into Portland, did you feel that that you had access?
In the beginning, no. It took me a while to get into the scene, but that had to do with networking and building relationships. And yeah, in the beginning it was cliquish, you know, but that wasn't gonna stop me from, you know, not, you know, being in my own. Oh, I'm gonna, you know, it's I wasn't gonna reciprocate that energy. So there's ways to break that, you know. There's ways to break that. So you just gotta build bridges, you know, connect with people. Maintain that relationship, you know, where it's both beneficial for both parties. Right. You know, there's it's a bigger picture. You can't just think about yourself, you know.
In terms of then getting that information out to people, I know that you had an opportunity, Karma, to do an interview recently, and you talked about the perception of those who maybe were interested in the scene but outside the scene, who didn't really know what to expect. Maybe they were fearful. Maybe they were afraid to go to a hip hop show. How do we change that? How do we let people know what these shows are, where these shows are, and Jenny, I guess I'm thinking specifically of some of the work that you've done where you've kind of laid that out. But how do we let people know how to access that? How to find out what's going on at these venues when these events are happening?
I mean, that's my entire job, is trying to tell people about it. But I don't know. I guess, like, you can't force people to go outside their cliques, because a lot of people do just want to, you know, pop in for their friend's set and then leave, and then it's like half an empty room. Yeah. But I don't know how much we can do about that, but I think it's really important for people who are in the scene to support it as much as possible, and not just when their friend is performing, but like, I mean, you can't do anything about the fans, obviously. They're going to gravitate to what they gravitate to. I think it would be helpful to have more writers covering this, because there's not that many people who are, and I'm only one woman. But I don't know. I guess you're talking about just like getting the information out to people about it.
Because I mean, I think one of the things that we do know is that knowledge is king, and spreading information or sharing information is increasing knowledge. And so I think we all feel, I think everyone here in this room feels like that there is a growing hip hop, that there is a growing I shouldn't even say that, because the scene has been here in Portland for a long time.
I think social media has had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in the last few years, because a lot of people can promote themselves, they can build their own network online, build their own fans who aren't even living here, you know, if they want to. But yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to add to that.
Okay.
But
okay. You know, we talk about the love-hate relationship between Portland and hip hop, and I wonder if we, you know, everything for the most part that we've been talking about is really, I think, more than not talking about hip hop music, right? Because we're talking about venues, we're talking about events. But I think it's also important as we think about educating people that hip hop is more than hip hop music, right? I mean, it's about the visual art, so it's about writing. It's about DJing. It's about b-boying. It's about education, right? It's about history. And I wonder if that's a part that we're missing, that we're so focused only on hip hop music that we're not really embracing the culture. I think even though oftentimes we use that term, the culture, all we're really talking about is the music. We're not talking about the dance. We're not talking about graffiti. We're not talking about educating. And then, you know, when you mention reaching out to the youth, there's a huge part of that educating. How can we take that? How can we expand on that? How can we make people, how can we share that with people that it's not just about the music? And if we're able to do that, do you think that will have any impact on that relationship between the artists and the decision makers?
I think it's a difficult balance, you know, like nobody wants anything shoved down their throat, you know, like, but if you can give it to them, you can present it to them, you can show them, you know, you can, but, and hopefully they walk away from that. So like every time I try to throw a party, I treat it as it's like a party. I don't even like to call them shows or events or concerts. I like to say a party, because I like to say like everybody in this building are connected in one way or another, and you're gonna walk away with something, you know? And so whether we're having live painters at our shows, b-boys at our shows, amazing photographers that tomorrow you're going to be able to go online and check out all these beautiful photos. It's all one big thing, you know, like I hope that there's like the next day somebody that gets to go and see like somebody like Renee Lopez's like photos and be like inspired to be like, that's what I want to do, you know? Like all you can do is put it in front of them, give them the best, and hopefully they walk away with like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be a part of. This is that culture, you know? It's weird. Like, I mean, and then things like this today, I think this is such a beautiful thing. I've been lucky enough to be a part of a few events like this, and we need more, you know? We need this on a regular basis, you know? Shout out to Andre Middleton for putting this together, and yeah, I mean, we need more of this in the community constantly happening, you know, like we need to keep reaching out and spreading it, you know, like for a long time there's only been, I feel like, I mean, I know there's many more, but a core full of heads that have really been pushing it, you know. But like I said, over the last couple years, it's really cool to see like the fruition of it, you know, to see it like build and like what's happening right now. I'm not saying like it's, yeah, I am saying actually it's because of the foundation that cats like Star Child and Cool Nuts and OG1 and, you know, that have laid down for us. You know, Mike Crenshaw, so many names I could throw out, but like it's because of what they've started for us, and like let's continue to move, you know, like that's where I'm at with it. Yeah,
that's what's up. That's what's up. So then, I mean, I'm gonna ask the question, and is it fair to say that there is a love-hate relationship between Portland and hip hop? Is that a fair assessment?
I think there definitely is. And when I talked to one of my coworkers about this, I mentioned the event, and she was like, why are we calling it that? She's like, what do you mean love hate? Why not just, like, why are we framing it like that? And I was like, well, I mean, because it's real. Like, like, it does feel like a love hate when, like, there's really talented artists on stage and there's not enough people in the building to see it. It is a love hate when you go to a show and it's like a horde of white people saying nigga. And it's like kind of like it's like a microaggression, you know? It feels really uncomfortable, and it's like, oh, that kind of just ruined this whole thing for me. But like, I don't know. That's just the kind of elephant in the room kind of stuff that it's like, yeah, we love being here, but there's definitely challenges that make it really uncomfortable sometimes. Or like, the other part of the love hate is I think a lot of talented young people don't get as many opportunities to perform because there's not enough all ages venues, obviously. So yeah, just stuff like that. So I think it's real, but I think we're moving more into the love part because, I mean, it feels like love when you're at like the thesis or you're at mic check. It's like, hey, homie, like we're all here.
Definitely.
Like it feels like you're kicking it, you know? But there are pros and cons to having like a very tight-knit small scene at the same time.
So then, if we look at moving forward, how do we do that? I mean, as I look at the panel of people that we have right here, right here, this is what I see. So I'm an artist. I'm new to the scene. Don't really know anybody. I want to try to figure out how to get on, right? So I need to figure out, where do I go? You're kind of covering that, right?
Yeah.
I want to figure out, all right, I've got production. I need to record.
Yeah.
I've got that covered, right? Yeah. I want to collab with an artist. I've got that covered. Now, who's putting on shows? I've got that covered. But if I'm new to the scene, how do I access that? Because I feel like that's kind of the part that's missing to that individual that's new to Portland. Right now, I was reading something recently, and they're talking about Portland, and someone from the outside looking in, and their view of Portland was, especially the music scene, was pretty limited. We have a small number of artists in Portland right now who are getting national coverage, and I think that's awesome. But I also think that it can skew the scene because I don't think that is totally all-encompassing of what we see. It's kind of the Portlandia thing, right?
Sure.
My cousin came into town and she wanted to see the adult swings because she saw it on Portlandia. Well, that's not really Portland, you know what I mean? So how do we move forward? Because now we've talked about some of the obstacles, and we've talked about how we've overcome some of those obstacles. So now what do we do? How do we practically move forward? How do we practically make a change? Because one of the things that I have heard is that we've started doing that, and we've started doing that. We've seen some of the challenges, and then we've made the choice that we're going to do something different. We've had conversations with city officials, and now every year on October 15th, we're celebrating Portland Hip Hop Day. That's huge when we think about where we've come from. We have monthly events that happen. We have annual events that happen. But how do we take that now and move forward?
The one thing I do know is that for doing this for like 15 plus years in this community is that nationally, from artists, from big artists that we respect, we get a lot of respect and love in the Northwest. Absolutely, hands down, some of the absolute best MCs, DJs, production comes out of the Northwest. And that we're not niched into one style. We are so many different things. But at the same time, press-wise, publication-wise, we get no love. You know, we get handful of artists make it out, you know, and they get, and generally those guys have to step out of the scene to even get love in our town, you know. But I mean, that is a good question, man. Like, I mean, how do we do that? I'd love to be able to answer that question. All I know is that we've got to just like, I'm going to keep pressing this, stay under the youth, you know, and just like keep pushing what we do, keep doing what we do, and hopefully it comes back to us. But I mean, I mean, Portland is such a small market, and it's such a big, there's so many questions in that, you know. Portland being such a small city and having people look at it a certain way because of the way people decide to define us nationally. But I mean, until you come here, you have no idea, you know, like, I ain't going anywhere, you know. I love this town, and I want to be a part of making sure it keeps, you know, stepping up.
Well, back in the day, it used to be the machine, right?
Right.
I mean, you had to have a record label to really break out.
Yeah.
But like nowadays, it's an equal playing field, because you got, if you can get your social media game going, you can, you know, create a following. I thought, you know, I knew all the Northwest hip hop, you know, because 90% of what I do is hip hop.
Right.
And I got asked to do a live show, to do live sound on some last minute stuff. And I went in there, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Last Artful Dodger, right? I'd never heard of her, right? And then there was all these other people on the bill, but it was a completely different scene. I'd never seen any of these people that were in the audience, and this place was packed. I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like one of the things where you're talking about niche. It was like, these aren't the same people at a Crenshaw Serge Severe show, because Serge Severe's old school boom bap. You know, this was like some new stuff, and I was just like, whoa. I was watching them, and it was killer. Yeah, but you know, and then she's on Sway in the morning, you know what I mean? Like doing her thing, and I was just like, but everybody's path is different. If you look at like somebody like Tech Nine,
Right.
how long's he been grinding? 20 plus years?
Yeah.
And he's created, you know, the what is it, Strange
Music.
Yeah, Strange Music. And they've got a warehouse out there in the middle of like St. Louis or something. I don't know.
Right.
But those guys grind hard. And you know, I don't think it should be okay, I've got a computer and a microphone, I'm gonna make my rap record, now let me on stage.
Right.
I think it should be a grind.
Absolutely.
It should be a grind. There's no like entitlement for you to like, just cause I here's my, you know, 25 songs, listen to all of them. I tell people, like, put energy into 3 songs, make a video, like, draw people to you. Don't rap, you know, with no hook for 5 minutes and make 25 songs and expect somebody to listen to you.
For sure.
You know what I mean? What kind of ego is that? So I make some undeniables where they listen to that song and they got to hear it again because it was so dope. But as far as going forward in this world, like, I tell kids, like, the social media game, and make it dope so they have to listen to you, you know?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I think there is a lot of that going around, of like, a lot of people expect to be covered. They're like, here's my album, want to write a review?
Yeah.
It's like, not really. Like, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of you. I would rather watch like a music video for sure. Like, that's the kind of stuff that kind of inspires you to go out and see someone live if you really like
of who they are.
Yeah, if you really like a couple of songs, that's much more attractive than like, I put out this huge album.
Yeah. Did you hear tracks 18?
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I think a lot of people could use media training and like learning how to, yes, don't text me a music video, which is something that I get a lot. Like, cause so in the small scene, I feel like there's a sense of, since it is so small, the personal, professional boundaries get blurred a lot. And it's like, if you are friendly with someone or you want to be friends with someone, then they're like trying to slip you, oh, write about my stuff, type of thing. And it's like, email me. Email me with all your links and all the info about you. Don't text me randomly on a Sunday music videos of your stuff. I'm off the clock right now. So yeah, I think that there, like, media training would be really beneficial to a lot of artists. Or at least just like some informational sessions, or like people collaborating to help put like a package together.
Yeah, that's be so key. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of people just don't know how to get it into the right
EPK.
hands, or don't know. I don't know.
And it's like when you present the question to it could be artists, it could be a production manager, it could be a DJ. Is this a hobby for you, or is this, you know, is this what you're wanting to do? You you know, and all that's good. You know, you can get on shows, you can be productive. I know young artists in this town who have full-time jobs that don't want to tour, but they still do shows consistently. They do shows to pack rooms in, you know, in our town, but there is a balance to all that, you know. They get write-ups, they get all kinds of things, but they don't even make it to Seattle. They don't even cross I-5, you know, like, but they're able to do both things, you know. But if this is what you want to do, if this is who you really are trying to be, if this defines you, then you better like step your stuff up, you know. Like,
there's people who want it more, you know. There's people who give up everything.
Yeah, and there's some people. There's a lot of folks who just until they hear it from somebody else, until they really know. So you're right. You're like, there should be, like I said, more platforms for like a media platform to be like, how do I present myself as an artist to everybody? Like, how do I come off professionally, you know, almost at least, you know, and how, you know, like there's so many, and they're just small things, you know, but they're important things that we need to know, you know, that most bigger cities are ahead of us, you know, and there's lessons to be learned, you know, from folks like you know.
We may touch on some of these in our breakout sessions, but sort of tailing in on or adding to what you're talking about. It sounds like one of the big pieces that we're missing is education, and education just in the sense of, you know, these are the things that I need from you to help you get to the next level. So, I mean, you mentioned that, Jenny. You know, quick top 2-3 things that you would want to see from an artist that wanted to get a write-up, whether it be an artist who wanted to get a write-up on their music or photography, or I want you to write about my radio show. I mean, what are the top 2 or 3 things you need?
Well, first of all, I look for stuff and then I find it. So usually I'm not hearing about a person for the first time in a press release or something. But I like to see visuals. That's really compelling for me because I'm not just going to listen to anything. Sometimes I'm like, I'm in my zone. I'm not trying to listen to all these random links in my email. But I look for professionalism, as in just, first of all, emailing me, not texting or like tweeting me or
sending you a Facebook message
or that. I mean, okay, Facebook is kind of different because sometimes that's the easiest way to contact someone. But professionalism in an email, visuals, and like saying hi to me in person. Like, I think if I've seen you around, or that's a good thing for booking shows too. I think that's something I've heard from bookers is that if you want to get on a show and no one has ever seen you at a show, it's like you want to see that support, you know. So yeah, that's 3 things. Okay. But I have some other stuff for the breakout session.
Okay. Yeah. We definitely don't want to spill it all. And then Prince, if I'm interested in coming into the studio to record, what do I need to be ready for? I mean, I've been in my bedroom rapping to myself in the mirror. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now I think I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, if you're practiced up, I mean, have your beat ready, and we'll get it going. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Different people come in with different expectations. I have guys who want to come in and do 10 songs in like 2 hours, and I'm like, listen, we can just put the tracks up there and let them roll, and I let them go from track to track, and we bounce them out. I'm like, you know, it's your time, whatever you want to do. And then some people are more methodical. They're very, the way that they said one specific word, we will listen to 3 takes and we'll get the, you know. So I've seen genius on all levels. I've seen cats come in and just spit the whole song and not make one mistake, and it was the swagger. You know, I've also done takes with like a local artist, and he'll come in and spit it, and then spin like, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he'll do like 5-6 takes, and each time he's trying to get a thing, and I'll be like, all right, let's listen to this other take.
Right.
I won't even tell him it's the first one.
Right.
Play the first one, and he's sitting in there like feeling it, like, damn. And I'm like, yeah, that was the first take. I was like, let's just go with that one. So you can get caught up in your head. So.
Who was that?
You probably know. Anyway, but yeah, I'd say just come in prepared.
Yeah.
Have your lyrics ready,
Yeah.
and you know, have a plan. And once you get that first session in, you get a gauge of how fast we can work and what needs to be done. And you know, teaching people that, you know, some people think you have to do the whole take, and that punching in is like bad or whatever.
Right.
But I've had Talib Kweli and Tech Nine, and I've recorded Heavy D back in the day, and all these guys punch in.
Right.
All these guys punch in. There's no like purity because you spit the whole thing. It's like, no, it's human. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's how we do it.
Karma, as an artist, I know that you probably get approached from several different directions. Folk who want to collaborate with you, folk who want to book you on a show, folk who just want to be around you because they've seen you on stage, and that creates a fandom. If someone is going to approach you, you know, in any of those situations, you know, what are you looking for? What do you want to see? What's the way that somebody should approach you, and a way that you prefer they not?
Approach me regular, like you said. Be human, be real, be authentic. You know, be transparent. Let me know what your intentions are right off the bat. You know, because I'm a friendly person. I'm always talking. I love talking about hip hop. So I'm always down to have a conversation with anyone who's willing to talk about that. As far as collabing, you gotta have the song ready. Let me know, like, give me, you know, what's your concept? Because me, I'm one of those. I'm a writer first. You know, I have to have a concept, and I take my time. You know, I don't punch in, but I'm just like, I have to have a concept. I have to have a story. You know, I'm a storyteller, so it's like it has to be meaningful. It can't be anything, you know, random or doesn't have any meaning to it. And if it's gonna have my name on it, it has to definitely mean something.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those. I take my time. I'm very patient. So as far as like approaching me, just be yourself. Be yourself.
Yeah.
And don't be phony with it.
No doubt. You know, a thought came again, looking at it from the aspect of being an artist. What's your biggest obstacle right now here in Portland? You've been here. You've got platforms. You're performing. I mean, you are a working artist now. But what is an obstacle for you?
I don't. If you listen to my music caters to a certain demographic, and that demographic is not in a city that's 76% white. You know what I mean? I'm performing at these venues where my audience is like, I don't know. There's not a lot of venues out in the numbers, so it's like I feel like that's more my crowd out there. That's where like I don't. And this is something I've been like, me and Renee have been trying, like, how do we get my music in front of people that I'm actually this content is for? You know, I'm not performing out in Southeast or in the numbers where my community is at, where most of my listeners are at.
Right.
They're not traveling all the way to downtown Portland, you know, to come see me. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, how do I get, you know, how do I gotta go rent a place, or how do I get venues out there and perform out there? Because I'm performing in the city. Ain't no black people out here. Like, ain't no Latinos out here. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you don't see this, like, the turnout is not as heavy, because we're not performing at where our target audience is at, you know?
Right.
You know, so that's something I'm trying to figure out as myself. It's like, how do I get my music into the target audience, my target audience? You know, right now I'm just performing in front of, I mean, not that I want to perform for white people. That's okay. That's all fun.
Right.
But it's like, also, it's like, how do I include my core audience? How do I include them in this? And that's something where I'm struggling. It's like, okay, I need to work my way out the city and go, like, to the numbers and, you know, get this crowd involved in what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to get everybody involved. I want everybody to see me perform, you know?
Right.
So that's an obstacle. It's like, how do I get to perform in front of my core audience?
Got you. We hopefully will maybe get some answers. So like I said, one of the things that we wanted to do, aside from introducing you to these folk and really kind of letting you know who they are, what they do in the scene, is give you an opportunity to maybe touch base with some of these folk in some of the on a more of a personal one-to-one basis. So we're gonna do some breakout sessions, and I just want to run down for you what we're going to be talking about. Now, we're also going to do a little bit of a Q&A, because I think that sometimes questions in a forum like this can actually spark more conversation and spark other questions. So I think we're going to are we going to get a roaming mic? We're going to get a roaming microphone. So we want to just get some feedback from you to any of our esteemed panel of guests on any of the things that we touched on maybe an idea that you had coming into the event today, a question that you might have for any of these folks. So we're going to have a microphone coming here in just a minute to give you folk an opportunity to ask questions. And I'm stalling because the microphone is coming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, to the mics up here. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Well, what about you, Klyph? What's your thoughts on the state of Portland hip hop?
Yeah.
Because this guy, man, so much credit to DJ Klyph, X-Ray FM, everything he's been a part of. Like, he's been such a huge supporter. And I feel like, again, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for a gentleman like this guy. He's opening doors and laying bridges. Like he's presented myself with so many opportunities, and I'm sure a lot of these folks. Yeah.
I appreciate the kind words. I'm gonna. If folk want to start making their ways, I'm really not avoiding your question. But if folk want to, if somebody has a question, you make your way up to the microphones. I mean, I think in brief to answer that, I'm not originally from Portland. I've been in Portland for a little over 20 years, and I would say that in the time that I've been here, that I started building with the local music community, that was one of the first things that I found, that there were groups. And I saw so much talent here, and I saw so many different groups that were doing their thing individually, and not a lot of collaboration. I think more recently, I've actually seen quite a bit of collaboration. I have seen a lot of crossover. I have come just short of begging some of the talent in Portland not to leave Portland. And we've seen folk who have gone on and had levels of success, and we've had an opportunity to see them come back and share that. I think that a lot of it is perspective. I think that the scene is not as bad as some feel that it is, and I think that there's still a lot of work that we can do. And I think opportunities like this, opportunities to collaborate, is probably one of the best ways. Because I need to know that Anthony is having a show that I need to be at to help support, that Karma is doing a show that I need to support. What can I do to help get the word out about Portland Underground recording? How can I share the article that Jenny wrote? You know, what can I do in my little space to support others? And I think that that'll help grow. I see we have a question. Sir, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
My name is Mac. Is this mic on? I don't think it's on. Is this mic on? It's on. Okay.
They may just be going straight to the board. Yeah.
It probably is.
The question I actually have is, the demographic in Portland has changed a lot recently. I think we all know that there's a lot of people have come here that weren't here before. I know back in the day, is what to say, there were just simply weren't a lot of rap fans in Portland. Kind of like Carmen said earlier, you go out and perform, and there just aren't as many fans as you'd like there to be available. Do you feel like now there are more fans just here already? Or do you feel like you're still kind of rapping to the same people that it was 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, this question for me?
Anybody.
Oh.
Anybody.
For me, no, it's I'm not, no, I don't feel like I'm rapping to the same crowd. No, I feel like there is more, I feel like there's more people are being more engaged with the scene and I feel like hip hop is the most popular genre. I mean, I don't think, and this is Portland, so I think, I mean, hip hop, I think there's always been fans. It's just been the engagement just hasn't been there. I think the engagement is much higher than it ever was.
Okay.
Hello.
I was here 5-6 years ago.
I had a quick question. Which one? Oh, there. This is the one. So, infrastructure. What's lacking? What's already here? Can we talk a little bit about? I mean, to make music, it takes not just people, but it takes tools. It takes studios. Is there infrastructure here? Is it growing? Where's there room for improvement? Maybe shout out some resources that already exist. But that's a question I'd like to ask about is infrastructure.
You're just talking about recording?
But yeah, we're kind of like the machine. You know, I'm from New York City, and, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to any ecosystem.
Yeah.
And what moving parts are already here versus what moving parts need to be developed and supported, or at least identified as not already being here.
From my perspective, I think it's here. There's so many studios in Portland with varying prices from 20 to 100 an hour. You take your pick of what you want. Venues, I think the venues are here. I think it takes getting, as an artist, you would want to have a manager or somebody or a promoter who's gonna go out, secure the venue, get these, and get people to the shows. You need a team around you, I think, you know. But I think, as far as the venues go, they're all over the place. They're doing shows.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree.
I was about to say the same thing,
No,
but,
venues-
but
Enlighten me then.
not to like, go.
Well, first of all, venues are very. Well, no. Let me step back. Let me not say anything I shouldn't be saying. Most of the venues for hip hop is in the city,
Like
you know?
downtown.
Like
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean,
Dante's and Bravati's and
Holocene,
yeah.
those the bigger names. It's all downtown. So we're kind. I don't know. I don't want to say it's not inclusive, but it's like there's a whole nother side of town and there's a lot of artists, a lot of recording artists on the East County out in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like, it's like if you're not near the city, then you're not in the scene, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Like if you're out there, you're out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and I don't see any other venues out there, you know,
So-
catering to that crowd.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I moved out into the numbers, out 100 plus, you know, not a year ago, and we went to this place. It's just, I think it was called Calamity Jane's or something, and the place, it was a nice bar. They had a stage, you know, and I said, if somebody were to bring you an event on any particular night to draw a crowd here, he said that they'd totally be open to it, right? They serve food out of the kitchen. They have pool tables way in the back, but there's enough space there to have a show. When I see places like that, and then that's just one place, right? But it's an owner not being able to make the connect with the community. So if somebody went in there and presented him with like, hey, we can get $10 a head, I can bring you all this business, you know what I mean, and make it happen, and you had the people, I don't see why that couldn't happen. There's tons of places out there, and I get it. There's not an establishment where it's like, oh, these are dedicated hip hop venues, but these are buildings where people, they want to make money. You know what I mean? And if you put on a positive show and you have somebody to create that energy, to get those artists there, like yourself, I think it could happen. You know what I mean? I know it's not a perfect world, but at the end of the day, I think it takes the people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Making the moves. Sanchez, I know you're going to blow me up.
No, I'm just like, I mean,
I know it's not easy.
I've been chasing venues for 20 years, you know, like,
and you
once we feel like we have one that's like holding us down,
yeah,
it's gone next week. Blue Monk.
But what happens?
You know, Blue Monk used to be our spot.
Is
you
it
know, like,
is it people? Like what makes those venues go away?
I don't think so. I think it's I I think it's people's perception of what they think we are doing in those spaces. You know, like it's
they don't like the crowd or whatever.
I mean, like,
or the energy.
I've been, I mean, but I think I'm not lying here. I think I've been doing shows again for 15 plus years, and I don't think I've ever had one like big thing break up our show that would cause like police and things to happen here in our community, like for years. Stuff outside, stuff from neighboring places, because and I do most of my stuff to be like downtown. I've mostly lived downtown. I've worked for bars downtown, and that's where I do my stuff. I do occasionally go outside, southeast, northeast and stuff and do shows, but downtown has always been where I've mostly done my shows. And I love that because I love being a part of that downtown community. But like,
I know.
it's all good, you know, like you need to come do one of my shows. And then,
you gonna hit me?
so I don't, there's like, but it's mostly like the perception of what they think is happening, you know? I mean, I got cops coming through, walking through my shows and showing intimidation when, you know, we've got cats like Braille on stage who's like a Christian rapper, you know? Like, why are you here right now? Like, what is, you know, like, it's just, if, you know, if a neighbor complains, if somebody says this, if they think this or that, you know, and I like, me personally, I like to keep my shows eclectic, you know. I like to put a punk band next to a hip hop band, next to a reggae band, you know, like I like to mix it up. I mean, I do a lot of mostly straight hip hop shows, but I like to mix it up. I like to bring different communities together. I know that your fans are gonna love her fans and each other's music, so let's put them in front of each other. That's always been my goal and my idea, but I mean, again, like I chase down venues in this town, and I feel like once we establish one and once we feel like it's our home, for some reason the spot gets blown up, and it's 98% of the time not anything because we did, and then there are, and I will give shout outs to a handful of venues in this town that have supported us over the years, you know, that have had our backs. Ash Street Saloon, Old School Barbadies, McMinimans is killing it right now. Cliff Stanford, big thanks to that. There's a handful of people that have our back consistently over the years. But, you know, when we do try to go, we find a spot in Northeast, and it's a little dive bar, and it doesn't have, and it's exactly what you're saying. Once we get established there, it's like something happens, you know, like I don't even know. There's numerous things, and it's like we're gone. We're not, like I can't get a. Sorry, we can't do it. You know, like what? Like we bring strong business. We bring positive community. We're doing good things, you know, for your bar, for the community, for your block. What's up? You know, it's because of some other outside thing happening, you know, like I don't really know. I can't speak to that because I don't work for those bars, but like we're here, we're ready to work, you know.
I think oftentimes that probably is the case, but you know, again, looking at Ash Street in particular, Ash Street's going away. We know that has nothing to do with the music, right? I think we're going to get to hopefully touch more on that in our breakout sessions. I know that there are some folk who have some questions, and I want to make sure we get to those. So we're going to grab another question. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
For sure. My name is Adolfo Cantu Villarreal. I'm a Mexican filmmaker. Been here for 6 months, so my experience is pretty new. And in essence, I want to follow up what Karma was saying, because I've been bouncing between the immigrant community, that's my community, and the creator community, that's also my community. And what I notice is that there's a pretty huge gap that's way longer than the 20 minutes that it takes to drive to that immigrant community that's all around Portland. As soon as I tell people that I moved to Portland, they're like, oh, wow, the nature's amazing and there's so many white people. And I go, you know what? It's both things are true, but don't erase us. Immigrants are here, people of color are here. So I think it's really important to connect those. I live in the Northwest, so I'm closer to Hillsborough, to Cornelius, and I've been to Woodburn, and there's a lot of my community there. I grew up in Mexico, and my first album was a hip hop album of a huge band, but most people probably wouldn't know it. Control Machete, which is a huge band in Mexico. And I think that's a way to connect with my community too. It's to bring hip hop that's a little more connected to us. And I think even right now, the hip hop scene for Spanish speakers, or actually Spanish and English speakers, is growing because we're kind of melding the sounds of our ancestors with the new music. So I think making those connections would create that bond with our community. And again, I'm very new, so I want to know, what are your thoughts on how can we connect those dots? How can we bring, especially the youth, they're American citizens growing from immigrant parents. They love hip hop, but they're out there. How do we connect them? How do we tell them, hey, I know you speak Spanish and English, and you can also be a hip hop artist, you know? What's happening in that? So that's my question.
I gotta answer it.
Yeah, go.
No, that was my answer to that question. Like, that's my biggest obstacle. It's like, how do I engage this community into, you know, what I'm doing here? I live in Southwest Portland. I have no shame in saying that, but in that area, there's no Latinos. There's no community that I'm familiar with. But when I did this, like, I went to a block party a couple weeks ago out in deep 100 and something, and there was Latinos and people of color, and I was like, yo, I've never seen these people at a show, and it's like 45 minutes for traffic to them even get to to downtown. So it's like, how the heck that's something I don't have an answer for you. I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. It's like, how do I get my music and my performance in front of this crowd? And that's something I'm still trying to figure out for myself. So like, right now I'm just looking into, like, I know Friends of Noise, their location is out. Where's the location? Where's Andre?
Right here.
Okay.
Friends of Noise doesn't have a location.
Okay.
Pop-up concerts.
Pop-up,
But
okay.
We're trying to get a location in the Gateway District because it's close to TriMet,
Nice.
close to infrastructure, so that's
See,
kinda why
I think that's the systemic issues there. Is just trying to, that part is trying to figure out where to do these shows there. You said there's venues out there. I ain't never heard of You're going to have to tell me, what's this venue?
I'll follow up on that, dude.
Because that's
follow up
something
on
I'm looking into. It's like, how can I get to perform on this side and engage this community? Because there's a Hispanic community that really mess with my music, and I really would like to perform in front of them. I mean, I don't want them to drive all the way to downtown Portland. That's 45 minutes. That's gas. Like, I understand you're going to pay $8, $10 to come see me. You got to pay another $10 for gas, and then probably $15 for food and drink. That's a $50 dab. No, we ain't got money like that. So, it's like, I want to come to you, So that's something I'm still trying to figure out for myself. If I have an answer, I'll hit you up.
I think with that, in those surrounding Portland communities, Hillsborough, Beaverton, Tigard, going out to McMinnville, Newburgh, it's and I think this is why we're doing it. It's because we need those folks in those communities to also let us know, reach out to us and tell us, we can't just make it happen. We need the link inside that community to come to you and build, because, like some bar in Newburgh, Oregon isn't going to bring one of my shows, like I do shows in downtown Portland, like they don't know who I am, but if somebody in their community is saying, yo, we'll help bring 30 of our friends out to your restaurant or to your bar or to whatever, like, because we want to bring music, we want to bring this or that, we will come. Every artist I know is like, how do we get out to these smaller towns, these suburbs and whatnot? And I'm like, who do we know out there? Let's figure out, venues are, like I said, they're kind of scared, and it's not because of us, it's because of what's being pushed on them. But once we get in there, once we really start showing that we can bring beautiful, positive shows, they're open. You know, they're like, okay, let's continue to do this. You know, so and I'm starting to work with a few smaller venues outside of town, and they're open to it. You know, almost more open to it than Portland is. You know, and you know, I'm down to work with any artist or any venue that wants to bring, you know, what we have to offer. So
That's what's up.
And you're a filmmaker. Maybe you could be that person to bridge that gap.
Exactly.
Introduce that creative scene to the immigrant community.
let's build. Yeah.
Do it through your videos. Do it through your, you know, imagery. Image is important. You
Exactly.
know. You know. So like, I'll link up with you. Let's figure out. Let's find a venue. Let's plan. Let's plan something. Let's find a way to get this community engaged with this particular scene. Because when we talk about this scene, we're talking about the scene is in the city. We're not, you know, everything outside is really not included. If we're being real, no, am I wrong? Check me if I'm wrong.
I think it's perspective. I live way east, way out in East County, and so I think it just depends on utilizing whatever avenues you have. And there have been things that we, you know, we've tried to work on in Gresham, in terms of East County, but a lot of it does take that support, and we're gonna come back to this, and I'm gonna share a story that came out of what we did here last year that has grown because of something like this. So I would say again, breakout sessions. I think that's an excellent idea. You have the capacity to reach potentially a wider audience than I do with my radio show on a monthly. Or in a different fashion. So it's like, I want to get to this next gentleman. If you mind introducing yourself and.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Trey. I'm not really from Portland. I'm from Tacoma, so it's like I don't really know what's going on out here. I'm new out here. I've only been out here for like 6 months.
Okay.
But I had a question as far as like futuristic, like near in the future. Like Mozzie made a good point about mumble rappers. And that kind of like, and how they're getting all the spotlight right now, and like that kind of change, that really changed hip hop and what is viewed upon. And my question is basically like, what is it going to take for hip hop to get back to the meaning, and how long will that take? You know what I'm saying? Like, when is that time going to be back around? Because I mean, it's coming back around, but it's like, it's still like new albums is getting pushed out, new mixtapes is getting pushed out, and it's still the same old nonsense. You know what I'm saying? It don't have no real meaning behind it. And it's maybe because those people that are getting that spotlight, maybe that's the agenda they're pushing, or maybe they're supposed to push that agenda, or maybe they didn't already put out all that stuff, all the meaningful music that they had before they got famous, so this is all that is getting pushed to us. But I mean, when is conscious rappers gonna matter again? Basically, is what I'm asking.
That's a good question.
It never stopped that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, that's right in my wheelhouse, B. I ain't even gonna lie. I would say, you know, in answer to that, I would agree. Never stop mattering. I think that if you look for it, you can consistently see artists who are in the category of conscious rap, and that's just something that speaks to me personally. And I think anyone who really knows me or listens to or sees what I'm involved in, I would say you could see that I'm pushing my agenda of let's continue to push conscious lyrical content. I think hip hop music is in a place, it's grown up now. So hip hop's 40 plus years old now. So hip hop music is 40 plus years old. And now I think what you're seeing is that you have many of the subgenres. We used to didn't want to call it that, but it really is subgenres of hip hop. And I think right now, trap, which has been around for a long time, is really sort of bubbling. It's on the surface right now. And the associated mumble rap is really what everybody's into right now. And I think if you look historically through any genre of music, you can see the waves. And so I think right now that's what everybody's on, because everybody wants to turn up. not to get I'm not to get too far into it, but I think that your question will be answered very, very shortly. I think when we look at hip hop music and look at when conscious rap was really at the forefront, look at what was going on in the world at that time. Yeah. I think if you look at what's going on in the world now, I think you're seeing that people are looking now, people are searching for more than I just want to turn up. People are looking for more than I just want to numb myself so that I don't have to deal with life. I think people are seeing that, let's just talk about Portland. I think if we look at what's happening in Portland today, right, in June of 2017, I think you're realizing that artists are going to use their platform to speak to that. And I can't speak to that and turn up. I can't speak to that and make an impact. So my opinion, I think that you're going to see a little bit of that switch of more lyrical content, more conscious rap music. So, yes, sir.
Well, actually, on that one, I'd like to say, the big money behind anything that is being done, the big money has a vested interest in obfuscating the woke message, and that kind of going back to, we were talking. Oh, by the way, my name's Bill Sapo. I'm a nomadic monkey. And you asked about, we're talking about the culture.
Yes.
And then as you were talking, you all hit on one common thread that's always been a respect thread in hip hop, which is authenticity, right? And that, and then props to you, because you brought up one of the main problems we're having here with popularity, or the popularity of hip hop in Portland, which is racist. And there's a demographic out there that is the natural depository of this message, and we saw that last Sunday, right? May Day, we saw that those people. Thing is, they all listen to metal. And it's really hard to get a complicated message across. You can't win. Anyways, I'm a big fan. So now, when Prince, when you were talking in the original intro, you mentioned Surge. You had to say it twice before I realized, you're talking about Surge. You're not talking about the crew Stand Up for Racial Justice, right?
Surge Severe, yeah.
Surge Severe.
Right. Yeah. But then I thought, that'd be a great place to do a concert, a benefit concert, right? The crew Surge, Stand Up for Racial Justice, right here in freaking Portland. And then there's now, again, we're talking about the industry, folks. You might have to take a capitalist hit on this. There's places, and you can hit what I'm seeing. We're talking about, the crew I'm talking about earlier, the demographic. There's places like, say, Anaris Info Shop that put on free concerts every freaking week, maybe a couple a week. I go, but it's all metal. I can't, I have a hard time sitting through one song. And they're going to do 2 hours, right? They do this all the time. If a crew could get together, some woke poets, get out there to sling some lyrics out there, and once they hear it, they'd be like, well, first off, I can actually hear the lyrics. And there's a lot of truth in there, which has always been, let's be real, that's our... and then when you mentioned Surge, that crew right there could benefit from a benefit concert. And they have people like the SEIU that lets them use their hall for stuff. You could put a pretty good show on there. You could put a pretty good show on at some of the facilities like the International Longshoremen Workers Union have. So that's it. I mean, there hasn't, from what I've seen, and it's an artifact of the official suppression. I'm kind of new here. I've been here a few years. But right when I got here, just talking to people, it's obvious there's been a policy of official suppression to keep that voice down, So do you think that And it seems you also got people fighting over the same audience. We need to get a new audience. We need some ears, you know. And we got ears out there that are waiting for a message, you know, or are always, they're not waiting. They're always open for some clarity, you know. So do you think that if you're willing to take some hits on the money, because maybe other people are going to get some of the money, but they need it bad, well, we all do you think by doing some benefit concerts like that, I forget the guy's name, Mike something, you know, Mike MIC, he was down at the May Day rally, right? A lot of people, when they started, there were people on the other side of the park went, yeah. And then, of course, once they hear it, they'll be hitting the clubs. You know, man, I heard that, man. Let's go.
Yeah. I agree. I think you're right on, and I think that you will continue to see artists in this genre take advantage of those opportunities as they present themselves. We're going to get ready to break out to go into our breakout sessions here.
Oh yeah.
Ah, yes. I do definitely want to take a minute to talk about, speaking of benefits, talk about an event that's coming up that we really need to support. And I think everyone in this room is here for, you know, Poetic Justice. Poetic Justice presents the benefit show. We are all aware of the evil hate crime that happened here in our city, and we want to, man, louder than words. Louder than words, man. We can talk about how things are bad, how we want to make a difference, but, you know, louder than words. There's a benefit show that's going to honor the heroes and the victims of the Max tragedy. And you talk about artists coming together to do something. Listen to this list of artists: Cool Nuts, Mike Capes, Mighty, Ronnie Wright, Destro of Old Dominion, Rich Hunter, the Chicharrones with Sleep, Mike Crenshaw, Libretto, and the list goes on. This is happening at the Roseland Theater, Friday, June 16th, so next Friday at the Roseland Theater at 6 p.m. It was also mentioned about opportunities for our youth. This is an all-ages show, right? What an opportunity to educate our youth about the power of this art form that we call hip-hop. So it's going down on Friday, June the 16th at 6 p.m. at the Roseland Theater, all ages. It's sponsored by Jammin' 107.5. Shout out to Cool Nuts and the folk over there and what they're doing. If you want to get more information, if you want to look at specific making donations, John B. Slaughter. That's John B. Slaughter at yahoo.com. But once again, man, next Friday we have an opportunity to really show out. Next Friday, June the 16th, 6 p.m., all ages show. Shout out to Poetic Justice and the things that Poetic Justice is behind promoting events like this. It's a benefit show for the victims of the Max tragedy. Okay.
I, on behalf of everybody here, want to thank you all so much for your wisdom, for your generosity, and for your time. Real quick, next up we're going to have breakout sessions out in the lobby and some other rooms outside the other part of the building. Can I get real quick a roll call of what your breakout session will be and how people can keep in touch with you?
DJ Klyph, all over social media, DJ Klyph, Klyph at djklyph.com is my email. My breakout session is going to be connecting the dots, how to build community in the growing hip-hop scene here in Portland.
I'm Jenny. You can reach me on Twitter and email at jenniferkmo@gmail.com. That's Jennifer, Kaymo. And my breakout session, we'll talk about getting covered in local media, and also if anyone's interested in covering stuff, and you want to talk about that, we can do that too.
My name is Prince Strickland. You can reach me at princestrickland@gmail.com. Also portlandundergroundrecording.com. There's messaging there. My breakout session, I'll be talking about recording studio, do's and don'ts, any questions you might have about recording studio stuff.
My name's Karma Rivera. Karma Rivera is my handle on all the social media platforms. My breakout session will be, I will be discussing branding for the local artists. That's an important element. I feel it's based off my experience, and because everyone's asking me like, how were you able to, you know, create your image like that? So that's what I will be discussing.
Anthony Sanchez, Runaway Productions. My breakout session is going to be on booking, touring, production, artist development. I'm lucky enough to be to have Terrence Scott Cool Nuts joining me for my little breakout session. So if anybody needs any questions, answers, whatever, however we can help you, please say what's up.
Great. Can we get a big round of applause for our panel today? And once again, I want to give a big thank you to everybody who's come, but especially to the Regional Arts and Culture Council and Open Signal for supporting this. Hip-hop is on the rise. It is the voice of the struggle. It's the beat of the street. And times as they are, it's never been more important. So thank you so much for joining us.